Hi everybody, and welcome to Hive Reads. Today I want to talk about audiobooks. I will recommend a few audiobooks a little bit later, but the first thing I want to say is that audiobooks are books, and listening to audiobooks is reading. The reasons why people listen to audiobooks, why they might prefer them, or why they might listen to them either instead of print books or along with print books. A lot of people think that if you listen to an audiobook, you're cheating in some way. This is not true. If you listen to an audiobook, you are reading a book. It is real reading. A person may listen to an audiobook instead of reading a print book because they are vision impaired. They may be blind. They may have difficulty seeing. They may specifically have difficulty seeing the print on the page or the text of the page. They may have a disability or some sort of difficulty processing the text on the page, right? So, for example, someone who is dyslexic, they can physically see the words, but it's difficult to read the words on the page. Or maybe they're able to read, they are able to see the words on the page, but it's difficult to process what you're reading or to decipher what you are reading. For some people, they're able to listen to it and have the print book in front of them, and it's easier to hear the words and be able to place them on the page. For others, it is simply just the way that they read books is through audiobooks. Another reason is because people are busy and it's sometimes hard to sit down and read a physical book. They might prefer to read on the go during a commute while traveling. I know a lot of people during, road trips like to listen to podcasts, listen to music, listen to audiobooks. Some people like to have audiobooks on while they cook or clean or do other things around the house. It's hard for a lot of people to just sit and read with a physical book. And that is okay. It is okay to do things while listening to an audiobook. It's okay to listen to an audiobook and go for a walk. That is still reading, even though you are multitasking. Some people simply just enjoy listening to books, right? We, as humans, enjoy stories. We like stories being told to us. We like hearing stories. And audiobooks are a great way to have someone tell you a story. So no matter why you decide to listen to an audiobook, it is valid, it is real, you are reading. Don't feel like you're cheating or don't feel like you're not really reading if you do the audiobook version. A couple of the formats that we have in the library for ways to listen to audiobooks. In the library, we have these, they're called Playaways, and we also have digital audiobooks, so ones you can download through several different apps that we have. So first I'll talk about the Playaways. These are single books, right? So this one is Sadie by Courtney. This is Long Way Down by Reynolds. So when you check it out, it's like checking out a physical book. This is the book that you're getting, and you're getting it as this little device. You get it, you plug in your headphones, turn it on, and play. And that is it. Playaways are nice because they are that simple. You plug in and you go. You can just go up to the bookshelf, check out the book you want, and that's it. You're ready to read. The digital downloads takes a little bit more to set up. You need to have the app. So there are several different apps with different books available. You can link your library card through the app. Once you have that done, you're pretty much set. Then you just have to pick out the book you want, download it, and again, you can play and you've got it right there. These are not permanent downloads. They download for the lending period only, and then they will be returned to the library. But if you are someone who forgets to return your items to the library, a digital download can be good for you because it will automatically return. You don't have to worry about anything being late ever. And it is also nice because it's on your phone. It's on a device that you probably always have with you. So if you're out somewhere and you're like, oh man, I forgot a book to read. Oh, I have an audiobook on my phone. Let me just put in my headphones and I can listen for however long it is. So those are the two main formats. There are still some books on CD, but those are less and less popular. All right, so finally, let's talk about some books based on certain features that audiobooks have that print books don't have. That if I were to recommend to you, this is what I would say to look for. Number one, read the books that you enjoy reading. So if you are someone who is already a reader and you know that you like sci-fi, get a sci-fi audiobook. If you like romance, get a romance audiobook, right? So if you already know what you like, go with that genre, go with what you like in an audiobook format. You may find that you prefer print, you may prefer reading a physical book, and that's totally fine. You may find that you enjoy some genres, you enjoy listening to some genres, and you enjoy physically reading other ones. That's totally fine. If you are getting into audiobooks and you're not sure what you might be into or what to look for, I would recommend things like poetry. Poetry is supposed to be heard, right? Poetry is like music. It should be listened to. And so audiobooks are a great way to read poetry. A lot of times poetry books or novels in verse are read by the author, which in that case you get to hear the poem as it's meant to be heard, as it was written by the author. So I think that's always nice because it's hard to read poetry and to know where to put the emphasis and how to read certain lines. So I always recommend poetry, especially novels in verse, which I think are pretty accessible, and a lot of teens really get into novels in verse, are great as audio. Like I said, this is A Long Way Down. This is a novel in verse by Jason Reynolds, read by Jason Reynolds. Another one would be The Poet X is a novel in verse, written by Elizabeth Acevedo, and she also reads it. Another thing I would look for is who is the narrator, right? So if it's poetry, a lot of times it is the author. But a lot of audiobooks have celebrity narrators, actors and actresses who also do audiobook narration. There are also very, very many award-winning audiobook narrators. So you can look for someone who's, read hundreds of books, and you can know that they're probably going to do a good job of reading the story to you. Bahni Turpin is one of the most prolific audiobook narrators there is. She's read hundreds of books. She's done adult books, but she's also done quite a few teen fiction books as well. So she's read for The Hate You Give and On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. She did The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, which was then made into a movie. They Both Die at the End, which is by Adam Silvera. So a lot of books that we are familiar with. And she has won, it's called the Audio Awards. Those are the awards for audiobook narration. She's won quite a few of those. So, if you find an audiobook and it's read by Bahni Turpin, it's probably going to be an enjoyable experience. Try to find audiobooks that are read by a full cast, or if it's like a dual narrative, maybe two different characters switch off on chapters. Sometimes there are two different narrators. I always feel like they've taken a lot of care in picking out characters or picking out narrators for the character. If you can also find one that truly is a full cast where every character in the book is voiced by a different person, I think those are a lot of fun. It's almost like listening to a radio drama. So you can find some that even have sound effects and things like that. Some examples of that would be Nimona, which is a graphic novel by Noelle Stevenson. So that's very interesting because it started off obviously as a very visual format with a graphic novel, and then was adapted into an audiobook with a full cast and with sound effects. So it's just an interesting kind of translation of the text. The Golden Compass by Phillip Pullman was read by a full cast. Sadie, which is the other Playaway I have here, is read by a full cast, and this is another interesting one because the narration is part a girl trying to find who murdered her sister. So it's the story of that, but on the other side of it is it's a podcast called The Girls, which is talking about this girl who's going to find her sister. So you get the narration of the character, but then also you are listening to the podcast episodes instead of reading them on the page. So I think that is another interesting way that an audiobook can be done, right? We're used to listening to podcasts, and then Courtney Summers wrote a podcast in her book, and then the audiobook was able to, act out the podcast in that way. So those are some basic examples of some audiobooks, looking at the narrators, looking at the genre and the type of the book that it is. But at the end of the day, if it's a book that you're going to enjoy, that's what's most important, right? So if you are into biographies, if you're into history, if you're into, light and fluffy romances, these can all be found as audiobooks. And once again, they're all real reading. There's no need to be ashamed of reading the audiobook version. I think that there are many, many benefits of listening to stories. Sometimes we remember things better when we hear them. And I think it's just another way to enjoy reading. Oh, before I end, let me just say, if you want a recommendation that is more personalized, you can always ask us personally, or you can use the library takeout form on our website. And you can say, I want audiobooks. We'll suggest some for you. You can visit us and you can chat us, text us, all of those wonderful things. Okay, that is all for today. Thank you for listening. Happy listening to some audiobooks, and we will see you next time. Bye.